Do you really understand the difference between debit and credit cards? So I want people to speak the language of money. So I think about this in like small ways. Let me tell you like one way to know if you're financially literate today. One way might be, do you really understand the difference between debit and credit cards and why you should really never be using debit cards? Everybody talks these days about how credit cards are bad, right? Well, credit cards are bad if you don't pay off your payment every single month, if you allow big interest rates to stockpile, and if you use it as a I want things as opposed to I need things. Credit cards are bad. But debit cards are actually worse. They don't allow you to build credit, and credit, good credit in this country, is the underpinning of wealth. Debit cards do not allow that. They also don't give you any points or perks or cash back. And then you're less protected actually with a debit card. So if somebody steals your debit card and goes and charges things, the bank goes, I don't know, that's your money. Don't really care. If you go and you charge a bunch of things on your credit card and there's fraud, what do? 2 clicks, they erase it, right? They ship you a new card. And so I think this generation was so tormented by credit is bad, debt is bad, don't have it. Well, the people who are the richest in the world, they all have some debt, just good debt as opposed to bad debt. So where I want you guys to start is actually before you even think of making more money, let's understand the language of money.
The hidden things behind credit cards that we all feel stupid about when you see an ad and you're like, I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, it's so true. I had an employee, actually Christian, who's from the UK too. And we were ridiculing him mercilessly, actually, because he only had a debit card to pay for things. And I didn't even know that the UK was completely different.
No, there are credit cards, but it's not.
He said it's not normal. Yeah. I was like, you're a 28-year-old man and you don't have a credit card? And he was like, you need to travel more, Cody. And I was like, sorry. But then we got him a credit card so he could start establishing credit here. But moral of the story is, here's, I think, the couple first steps to financial freedom. If you want to set up your kid for success, you actually want them to get a credit card really early. Doesn't so much matter what type of credit card. I'm not like the points guy where I like to operationalize and optimize every aspect of a credit card. I think that is almost more work than trying to make more money. But I think if you go from any of the major banks, there are a lot of rules around credit cards, so they're really not allowed to mess with you so much on interest rates. There's a lot of protections for consumers, so don't stress too much about which one. Which one seems like it has some nice perks for you, and you can get the most amount of money that you need. Cool. So that's step one. And if you can do that for your kids when they're in high school, they will actually have more access to the first pillar, I think, of wealth, which is resources. We all know what's the saying? It takes money to make money, right? And so if you come from nothing, well, you can start actually building up your resource pile just from your credit, which you can start at a young age. You don't need to be rich to do that. And then after resources, you pile on knowledge, right? The rich pass on how to invest. We need to start doing that to our next generation. Then you pass on wealth accumulation. That's where you start to pile on your own money. And then finally, you pass on, the ability to invest, to continue to move cyclically your money around and make it work for you. But that's where I would start. It's like you start with a credit card. You have a debit card really just because you want to get cash out sometimes if you're going to the club and buying drinks or whatever people do these days that are cooler than me. And that's where I would start. And then I would move to this next level of, okay, if I have some credit, now we need to focus on earning. So how do I make more money? And, but I think most people skip that first step because credit is scary.